The Justice League versus the JSA versus the JLI. I wanted to create a what if idea. If all of these characters and all of these high profile Justice League-esque teams actually had to go up against one another for differences of ideals. This story is going to have similarities to Civil War, especially the one that I made for DC's variation of it. But the villain's going to be a little bit different, and just in general, the outcome is going to be a bit different as well. Now, before we get into the story, couple things I want to clarify. The Justice Society in this world will be from Earth 2. So they are not originally from this canon world or the world that this story is taking place in. I also want to give you the teams just so you can have an outlook on how I felt that they would be rostered. So the Justice League I created is who would usually be part of my variation of the Justice League. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, either Hal or John, Flash, Wally or Barry, Martian Manhunter, and Zatanna. Me personally, I like to go with John and Wally. The Justice Society will look like Alan Scott, Jay Garrick, Power Girl, Shazam, Black Canary, Green Arrow, and Stargirl. Alan Scott, Jay Garrick, Power Girl, and Stargirl, they will all be from Earth 2. They are not native to this canon world. Justice League International, once we get to that point when this team is inevitably created, it will be Ted Kord's Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Captain Atom, Hawkman and or Hawkgirl, Plastic Man, Mr. Terrific. So the way this story would begin, 4 villains, Livewire, Poison Ivy, Dr. Psycho, and Parasite are all scattered around different major cities in America, causing complete mayhem and chaos. These 4 villains are not in any ordinary capacity. They are extremely powerful and extremely dangerous to the point when even they themselves are not capable of controlling their power output. Members of the Justice League and the Justice Society split up and go to these 4 major cities with these uncontrollably powered villains to see if there's any way that they can avoid any form of calamity that might come from them. When the heroes arrive, the villains claim that they don't feel right and that they actually can't control their powers. At first glance on the surface, it's pretty easy to tell that they have been tampered with in some way. Someone has been testing on them. Whereas our heroes do as much as they possibly can to keep these villains in check, it does all end with every single one of them dying and having an outburst of power, leaving sections of these cities pretty much decimated and a lot of civilian casualties. Less than 24 hours later, there is an immediate United Nations meeting. This is, of course, not the first time something like this has happened. There have been many other threats that the world has had to face, that the Justice League and other heroes have had to get involved, leaving a lot of places damaged and a lot of other civilian casualties over the past couple of years. With all of this questioning and doubt, this leaves Maxwell Lord with the opportunity to finally push the agenda that he has tried to get past over the past couple of years. He suggests that superhero-based teams only work within governmental aid and jurisdictions, only being called when absolutely necessary and avoiding all possible collateral damage, at the very least as much as possible. Maxwell Lord finds a way to speak to the concerns of a lot of these United Nations leaders and rulers, where he essentially says that superheroes and metahumans can be good for us. They can do things and help in ways we simply can't do ourselves. But we need a firm grip. We need someone's hand at the steering wheel that will help them guide in ways best for humanity. Now, that is not necessarily what he actually means, though. He's saying what he knows these people will want to hear. He is doing all of this for his own political gain, his own clout. After suggesting this plan and laying out everything that he would do to ensure a form of success, the majority of the vote is actually in his favor. This is where things immediately start to change. The Justice League are basically told they have to relinquish their roles as illegal heroes and either choose to retire, no longer capable of enacting superhero type duties, or to sign up for the JLI, the Justice League International, following the leadership of Maxwell Lord. This is obviously not taken lightly in any way and causes a huge disruption in the superhero community. Some people actually think this is an alright idea. Some people are on the fence. Then there are others who absolutely hate this. The entire roster of the Justice League basically says, screw that, Maxwell Lord can keep his JLI. We are the Justice League. We are formed without governmental interference, and the last thing we're going to do is let some corrupt billionaire control the way we choose to save humanity. The JSA, however, are led by people like Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, who fought in wars alongside the government in their respective timeline and world. They don't feel so negatively about governmental interference the way the Justice League or other heroes might feel. So Maxwell Lord actually takes his opportunity and speaks to Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, where essentially he knows that the JSA is a Justice League type team that's filled with half veterans, half newbies. Their team is really to get younger heroes ready for the superhero workforce, the life ahead of them, how to navigate this type of world, and you're basically learning from the best. He basically says, whereas the JLI is going to be a worldwide Justice League, they can go anywhere with any jurisdiction possible. The JSA can be the new face of America. You have the opportunity to train new heroes. That way the JLI can always have newcomers who are basically being taught by the best. You are helping America stay safe. You are then in turn helping the world be a better place. Still a little reluctant and hesitant and pretty much keeping both eyes on the future, navigating how the JLI will work, they do decide to side with Maxwell Lord. Right after this, Lord orders the Justice League Watchtower to be given to him and the organization of the JLI, since the Justice League are no longer legal. They no longer have the rights to use that as a base of operations. They no longer have rights at all, in fact. Before that could even happen, Superman, Batman, and the rest of the Justice League know that Maxwell Lord is going to move on every piece of territory they have. In fact, he already has the Hall of Justice. This is where they choose to take the Watchtower and to hide it somewhere within the Sol system, maybe around Pluto, or maybe they have it shielded and hiding around or behind the moons of Jupiter or Neptune. As all of this has changed and moved so quickly, we do have some changes in these teams. Shazam, Power Girl, and Stargirl graduate from the JSA and move over to Justice League International, which then in turn would bring in some younger heroes that now need to start learning from Jay Garrick and Alan Scott. Then Martian Manhunter, who potentially still feels like a character who's young to Earth and humanity as a civilization and feels as if he wants to do the best he possibly can to maybe fit into this world, he also chooses to switch sides to Justice League International. So with our main Justice League losing a member and the JSA now affiliated with the JLI, Batman, Zatanna, and Green Lantern choose to stay on the Watchtower, trying to keep an eye on Maxwell Lord, what exactly his main goal is from here. Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash return to Earth, keeping eyes off of their covert ops job from the Watchtower. They proceed in being regular heroes, saving the day, not stopping what they've always been doing. They're not about to let Maxwell Lord get away with this. Knowing that they just can't help themselves from saving people, Lord sends in a villain privately without anyone knowing to start attacking civilians randomly. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash show up on the scene. Then Maxwell Lord sends in the JSA and some members from the JLI to stop the threat themselves, so that the public interprets this as the Justice League being illegal, tampering with things they shouldn't be, and the JSA and the JLI essentially being the heroes, not just against the villain, but against Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash as well. Alan Scott and Jay Garrick tell Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash to stop. We will handle this threat. You are illegal, and you have to turn yourselves in. As any good hero would do, they say, no, we do have to fight this threat, or they're going to hurt more people. They actually decide to all work together to defeat the threat, but that does not solve the problem, because when that villain is defeated, they all go back to conversing with one another, now needing to bring Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash into custody. They, of course, deny, and this is where an all-out brawl begins with the half of the Justice League, some members of the JSA, and some members of the JLI. Throughout the fight, this does not stop characters like Superman or Wonder Woman trying to talk sense into Alan Scott and Jay Garrick about why working with Maxwell Lord is probably not a good idea. After enough fighting, they do convince Jay Garrick and Alan Scott to betray Maxwell Lord's Justice League International initiative. So as that happens, Lord gets furious and decides to show up on scene, arriving with more members of the Justice League International. Weirdly enough, some of these characters, when arriving, are not actually speaking. They're just flying or running in and fighting Superman and the rest of the people on his side. It's almost as if all they see is blood. They're just mindlessly fighting. While that conflict continues, Batman and Zatanna use that as a distraction to teleport into the Hall of Justice. They go to the main hall, which is now being used as a massive office/lab. They end up finding out that he was behind the Livewire, Poison Ivy, Dr. Psycho, and Parasite situation. He was actually testing on these villains to make them as dangerous as they possibly were, resulting in their death so that they could never talk. They could never release information that he was behind this plot the whole time. Figuring out Batman and Zatanna have broken into his office, he sends Supergirl, Booster Gold, and Ted Kord's Blue Beetle to stop them from escaping. As they arrive back to the office, they have a small fight with Batman and Zatanna. It doesn't really go anywhere, but they find a way to make it back to the Watchtower through the teleporter room, but they can't follow back to the Watchtower or try to enter the coordinates that were just used. They've made it in such a way that they've been able to blind the location of the Hall of Justice teleporters. Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Jay Garrick's Flash, and Alan Scott Green Lantern, they all return to the Watchtower as well to reconvene with Batman, Zatanna, and John Stewart's Green Lantern to discuss the information that they found through Maxwell Lord's classified files. After this, Maxwell Lord decides to retire the JSA, and everything now moves forward from within the JLI. I would say another month or two passes where Maxwell Lord is starting to change a lot more things, and key characters do start to notice very strange things about him, such as Ted Kord, Booster Gold, and Power Girl. They start to notice he's becoming much more of a dictator who only wants things pretty much done his way. He starts giving heroes JLI branding that they have to wear at all times, whether it be something on their suit or a bracelet or a necklace. There are even times where threats occur and he's not even sending anyone to handle it, pretty much going against everything he promised he would do. And what gets even weirder is over time, heroes are disappearing. They haven't been seen in days or weeks, and when inquiring about them, they get no proper answer back. This is where Power Girl realizes, I haven't seen Ted Cord, Booster Gold, or Martian Manhunter in quite some time. I'm starting to get worried. She reaches out to Superman and says that she wants to talk to him and discuss the situation at hand. The two of them would meet somewhere in space, not on the Watchtower, because Superman needs to know if he can fully trust his cousin from another world. This is where she voices all of her concerns with him, and Superman starts to realize, yep, she is backing away from the JLI, and she wants to come back to us. Arriving on the Watchtower, the same things she told Superman, she's telling the rest of the characters there. The most that they can tell is that this is superhero metahuman domination. Soon after, Maxwell Lord and the majority of the JLI show up at the Watchtower, not realizing that the JLI bracelet had a tracker in it, and it leads them right to the Watchtower, something that Lord has wanted for the past couple of months. Just like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash realized from earlier when they initially fought the JSA and the JLI, all the heroes with Lord are acting very strangely. They are not speaking, and once again, they're just there to fight. There is no reasoning with them. It is because Maxwell Lord is brainwashing them. Somehow he has obtained telekinetic powers. Wonder Woman and Zatanna sneak off to the teleporter and go back to the Hall of Justice, where they try to figure out everything that Maxwell Lord has been up to. This is where they find out Power Girl had a reason to be cautious. Maxwell Lord horribly torturing and experimenting on Martian Manhunter to extract telekinetic powers for himself. Wonder Woman and Zatanna would also end up finding out that Booster Gold and Ted Cord did end up dying trying to protect and save Martian Manhunter from this fate, but unfortunately, it did not work. On the bright side, though, Martian Manhunter did end up surviving. Maxwell Lord makes his way to the Watchtower's planetary miner, repurposes it to be a laser, a form of a death ray, if you will. His goal is to strike what would be known as the heart of America, being Metropolis, completely destroying and eradicating the city, which will then make the world look at the Watchtower and the Justice League as complete villains, giving him even more power, jurisdiction, and control on all things superhero and metahumans. Being able to utilize and harness the powers of Martian Manhunter for himself is only the beginning of what he has planned and what he could even do. Back at the Watchtower, Wonder Woman and Zatanna bring along some other heroes who have been convinced that Maxwell Lord is evil. Batman thinks he has a way of stopping the planetary laser from destroying Metropolis. He just needs Adam for the job. It's not easy, but Zatanna does find a way to disrupt the telekinesis between Maxwell Lord and Adam. Batman and Adam go over to the planetary miner, where Batman tries to work the controls from outside of it, and Adam atomizes into the machine to see if he can disrupt anything from the inside at a molecular level. Unfortunately, it's been shot and the laser is too powerful to stop. However, what you can do is reverse the trajectory. Instead of going down, you can send it back up. Adam tells Batman to get everyone evacuated, as many people as possible at the very least. Adam is going to try and focus all of his power and energy from inside the mining laser, shrink down the blast, trying to cause the least amount of destruction in the area as possible. possible. This blast could be so powerful that if hit correctly, it could even send some planets out of orbit, which would then have dire consequences for the rest of the solar system. Getting as many people as they possibly can out, but not everyone. Adam is still relatively successful. He miniaturizes the laser and the aftermath of the destruction down to about half of the watchtower. There were quite a few characters that didn't make it out, but most importantly, characters like Adam himself, Alan Scott's Green Lantern, Jay Garrick's Flash, and Maxwell Lord also did not make it out of the blast. Everyone starts to believe that they have all died, but Batman starts to believe that instead of being evaporated by the laser and destroyed, he created a small dimension, and they're living in a atomized world at the moment, floating around in space. Whether or not that is true, though, they're going to have to do some scientific research. Before they do that, they have to get things back to normal. The government is going to want answers on what happened to Maxwell Lord, and the future of the JLI is now going to be in question. Will they be able to disband it, bringing the Justice League back to what it normally was, or is someone else going to come into play trying to lead the JLI themselves? A good character or bad character. The heroes still need to bury and have a memorial for Ted Kord and Booster Gold. Martian Manhunter is going to need some serious therapy, as if the destruction and the loss of his homeworld and his people weren't enough. And Power Girl, she's now going to need to figure out how to live on this world without Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, two people she shares from an Earth 2. When that's all said and done, that's when they would be able to discover the truth on if Adam was capable of saving everyone in an atomized dimension, or if his sacrifice will be remembered. That was a story I was capable of coming up with for a Justice League versus Justice Society versus Justice League International. So you guys let me know in the comments below what you thought of the story, and also let me know what some of your ideas would be if you made a story based on this. That is all I have for you on this video, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it, and until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.